But if you do get up in front of people, or if you do write something or do some stand-up, we have this idea that it needs to be perfect and that we have to have everything together. And at the end of the day, what really matters is the heart that's in it and the human element that's in it.
And so to be able to bring the power of journaling or just putting your pen to a piece of paper, those imperfect words, powerful thing
is to not let perfection stop you from even starting, right? Welcome to the Hot Flash Health Podcast, where we're dishing out unfiltered truths about menopause with a side of sass and a sprinkle of brass.
Get ready to dive into the wild world of hot flashes, mood swings, and all of the other joys of being a queenager.
This ain't your grandma's podcast. No. We are here to talk our bodies, our fears, our passions, our desires, all while navigating this wild roller coaster ride of menopause.
So grab a glass of wine,
or three.
Kick back, relax, and let's enjoy this hot flash wave together.
I'm Courtney Mamusha, and alongside me is my fabulous co-host, Dawn Fable.
We're just two outspoken broads who like to call it how it is.
Now, without further ado, let's kick off today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to Hot Flash Health Podcast. We're already sitting here laughing because we've got quite the guest for you guys today. The one and only Brit Stueven, a writer, comedian, community builder, and all-around badass storyteller. She's the author of Mama Be Present, the producer of Moms on the Mic, and the mastermind behind the DPB Society, where she helps aspiring writers find their voice and the courage to share their stories. But that's not all. She's also stepped into the stand-up comedy ring, redeeming herself from the legendary open mic fail and shining bright at Comedy Fempire earlier this year in Boulder. And folks, let me tell you, she brought an all-star team of menopause fighters with her. Hot flash, night sweat, brain fog, and her very own fighter name, Lightning Crotch.
Yeah, girl.
Yep, that's a real thing, y'all. Google it. Or don't. So today we'll be talking about her menopause grievances to the stage, myths about comedy and perimenopause and menopause that are debunking, and why women need to share their stories, whether through writing, speaking, or ranting with girlfriends. So let's give it up for Britt. We're about ready to laugh our way through midlife with the lovely Britt. So welcome. Thank you so much for being on today.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Your perfect teeth to the stage. We were just joking that I just spent $5,000 on Invisalign and I still don't have a smile like that.
Oh man.
Beautiful from the inside and out, Britt. We're pumped to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Yeah, my teeth used to be a complete wreck. I used to have fangs coming out here. And then luckily, my parents invested in braces. And like I was telling you, I wore the same retainer from high school until just a few weeks ago.
Wow.
That's how built to last. They're built to last, apparently.
That's a good thing about these. I feel like everything was made in some, better quality.
Yeah.
Right? 80s and 90s. If we could only go back where life was simple. All right, girlfriends. First things first, we love comedy and we love to keep it real here at Hot Flash Health. So we have to talk about this comedy fempire. I mean, you brought the house down with your UF style, hormone fighters and your lightning crotch. And you had a whole mic dropping moment, which was super iconic. What was that experience like for you? And why don't all of us know about the comedy fempire here locally?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So where to begin? So first of all, Comedy Fempire, it's a show put on by Zoe Rogers. She was the comedian at Moms on the Mic last year. And I didn't know that she taught comedy classes. And my friend was like, you should try that. You should do comedy. And I was like, I've always, one of these times I'm going to redeem myself, right? And do it sober. Because we'll maybe talk about my fail. But then I was like, and I don't feel like I have like the material, right? Like I feel like when people laugh when I'm on a mic, it's because I fumble over my words or just something in the moment, right? But then since I had been almost, 1 year sober, I'm like, holy cow, like maybe this is my time. So I took this class with Zoe and with other women, and it was so fun. And I was just going to tell the story about my bombing in 2008. That sounds bad. My bombing on stage. But then I started learning about the whole art of it. And one of the first questions in the first class was, what's something that we would be surprised to know about you? And I was like, I'm really into the UFC. And they thought that was so funny because I just don't fit the bill, for that.
Your teeth are too nice. You say you're into UFC. Are you like into UFC dudes? Like, does that really light you up? Are you like, wrestling with other women around here? Is it just like
All of the
mindless television? Do you?
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. Yeah, so I was never into watching fighting. I thought it was ridiculous. My husband was into it when I first met him. I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't, it's just a bunch of barbarian people banging up on each other. Like, why? And then we watched this show called The Ultimate Fighter, which is like basically behind the scenes of the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Oh my gosh, I fell in love with it because you learn the backstories of these fighters, and you see the techniques, and you see like how hard they work. And so now, my husband and I, yeah, we'll watch UFC fights together all the time. They don't start until like 9-10 p.m., which is crazy. I'll have to like drink Starbucks at like 6 to stay awake. Yeah, like one of my heroes is Justin Gaethje, like this fighter that I met when I worked at Applewood Golf Course, and he's based out of Colorado in Arvada, and he's like the nicest guy. And I don't know, I just love it. I could go on and on, but
You got it to the stage.
yeah. So anyway,
UFC and Menopause. What a match made in heaven.
Yeah. I know. So, but then basically my whole set turned into talking about how I like the UFC. I start out talking like let's address your assumption, like I'm totally a basic bitch, but let me tell you, like, at nighttime, oh, if the neighbors knew, what my husband and I like to watch and pay for. And then I'm like, UFC fights. And then like I just go into detail about like, yeah, just how much I like it. Then it transitions into basically becoming totally unhinged about midlife and all the things that are happening to our bodies and how we can't talk about it in public, and how I just like lose it on women at the grocery store, and just like how I just want to like elbow, Alana in the tit for taking the last ripe avocado, and what's her name, Corinne from Carpool, into the cage-free egg section and yank out her IUD.
Those bitches are going down.
Yeah.
Not on you. Not on you.
Took me a second.
Or maybe they are.
Maybe not.
I love it. So you're bringing, I love it. You're bringing our symptoms and what we're experiencing, the rage and the hormones and the night sweats and the lightning clutch, which I have to go into detail about. So, I mean, truly, like whose crotch is on fire right now at this age? Like nothing in my bedroom or near my vagina is on fire unless it's like my, vibrator that's vibrated out. That's like, so how'd you get this name?
Okay, so yes, let me explain. I Google a lot of things. And in my set I talk about how, I'm Googling like, why am I dribbling all the time? Like after I pee, not all the time.
Yeah.
Why am I doing after pee? Are long
We're on the trampoline.
Yeah. Are long nipple hairs normal? Why am I getting shooting pains in my vagina? What is that? Like, I don't, so, and it's so funny because when I've brought this up with people, they're like, you're pregnant. I'm like, no, there's no fucking way. Like, you have to have sex to be pregnant, and that hasn't happened for 2 months because I'm so tired. But
you're watching UFC fighting. That's the problem. You're too busy wrestling your husband in bed. You can't quite get to the penetration part.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Maybe we should all go on tour. I think we should go on tour. What's that bitch who's coming to Denver, like that everyone's paying so much money for? Not like.
Is it Eliza Schlesinger?
No, it's anyway. So continue. So the nickname.
Okay, guess what? The term, there is a medical, well, like medical nickname. The term for the shooting pains in your vagina is called lightning crotch, like for real. So I just thought that was so funny because that's really, I mean, and then I turn it into this thing where like I'm checking out at Trader Joe's and the guy is asking me like, so got any fun plans for the weekend? And then I'm just like spazzing and being like, oh no, everything's fine, like oh, I'm just gonna be gardening, taking my son to soccer games, like because we have to pretend, or we don't have, but like like so many things are going on in our bodies and at any given moment, and we just have to like move along.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So just out of curiosity, are you lovingly referred to as lightning crotch from your kids' teachers, from your kids' friends,
I
from
hope
like the
not.
coaches? Is this a secret UFC costume that you have spinning up in the back of your mind where you've got
Flaming.
Yeah, unfortunately not. It really didn't catch on. But yeah, that definitely.
not too late?
We're gonna change that today on our podcast, Lightning Crotch.
Yeah, so basically that becomes my fighting name. I'm gonna start the instead of the UFC, it's gonna be called, instead of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, it's called the Ultimate Menopause Championship, and we're gonna have fighters named Brain Fog and Hot Flash and Night Sweat. But then, yeah, lightning
Nipple
crotch.
hairs.
Nipple hairs. Chin
Yes.
hairs. Okay, well, I want to hear, because we talked a little bit before about your big debut. So talk to us about what happened on stage this time. And then we'll go into what happened in 2008.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, so we had been practicing for months, right, in this class for like 3 months. And this show was a culmination of all of our work. So Zoe's students and then a few, actual, professional comedians. And I was the only one to blank out. And so, and everyone kind of, has their little set list with some keywords on their notes next to their water bottle. And that's something I learned in class too, is like, I found a lot of comedy was just kind of riffing and you've got your main things, but it is very meticulous and you memorize down to the word. And, in this season of life, it's so hard for your brain to hold all these things, right?
Yeah.
So my notes were basically my whole set because I didn't know how to make the keywords. But anyway, so I blank out and I go to get my notes and they like blow off the table and they like slide onto, under some guy's feet, and then he has to hand them to me. And then I grab my notes and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where I'm at because there's so many words here. So then I just have to throw them. But then by the grace of God, like I came back and I was able to recover, but I was kind of kicking myself, right? Because I just had this feeling that like I was going to be the one to blank out. But guess what?
What?
I didn't die. I didn't die. Like
Because you used all your natural shit that's happening in your
Yeah.
life, which is like a error by comedy anyway, what happens in our life every day.
Great. Yeah. And so at the end of the show, though, my friend's husband was like, you know what? He's like, when you like blanked out, he's like, that was the most relatable part of the whole thing. And everyone was so nice about it. Like, it's not like everyone was, suddenly silent and being like, oh boy, because they're, and in a way, I think, when you go to see something like that, you're almost happy that someone fucked up because we're all in it together and you're almost in it with that person. And so when they show that they're human, you're like almost relieved. So yeah. I'm actually kind of glad that happened.
It's those moments of vulnerability too, right? Like as we get older, a friend and I were just talking about this last night. As we get older, having the depth and the vulnerability and the realness of friendships and of being able to share things and fuck ups in life and things that happen naturally, I feel like that's what brings the most authentic connection and friendships. And that's, I think, what we really try to do on this podcast. And it's so refreshing to have people like you who, lean into that as well.
Yeah, totally agree. It's so important.
Now, you've had such an admirable journey within the past several years to sobriety. And in 2008, you had an experience where you bombed the open mic, right? You blacked out.
You tried to bomb this one, but you came through. So
Yeah.
let's go back to the original bombing.
And you hear that so often, comedians and, so many of them struggle with addiction and alcohol and use that as sort of a crutch for their humor. But you had an extraordinary comeback, this time around sober.
Yeah.
Walk us through that. Speaking of vulnerable topics.
Yeah. Of course. I've been laughing already. I'm getting slummy. I'm going to be clearing my throat now. Okay. So I was in between jobs in 2008 and was going to open mic, stand up at the Squire Lounge on East Colfax.
That place.
Yeah. And I mean, it was so fun. But what was interesting is anytime a woman would get up, people would start talking, or the woman would be kind of timid, or they just weren't like, no one was paying attention to the woman. And so I told my friend Will, I was like, okay, because we were like, we should do this. We should totally do this. I'm like, yeah, I definitely need to do it because I feel like I was like, I just need to get everyone's attention. Like, I need to be that person that is like the first person to get on the dance floor at a wedding and dance badly so that everyone else feels comfortable to get out there.
Right.
Yes. And so, and because I wanted to see more women, and I just thought maybe this will give other people more permission. So I just didn't really take it that seriously, right? Like we wrote some jokes. Man, that's and my jokes were like they were pretty vulgar, like, and I thought at the time that I could do a really good Harry Carey impression, and don't ask me to do it. And I thought that I could do a really good Bobcat Goldthwait impression, and don't ask me to do that either. But I was like, standing, my goal was to be talking about, like, Harry Carey was talking about like eating pink tacos, and I mean, like, I don't even know. So the night comes and they put me second to last. And there's like, I don't know, probably like at least 20 people that would get up at this thing. And it goes till, like 11:30, and so I had plenty of time to drink way too many vodka sodas. And by the time I got up there, I totally blacked out. I don't remember a thing until the guy hosting it was like, wrap it up, and I'm like, you can't take me off this stage. Like, I wouldn't even like leave. And so I go back. I remember emailing Adam Caton Holland at the time. Do you know him? He's like a well-known Denver comedian, and because he would be the headliner most of the time, he'd be like the main guy at the end. I remember emailing him, and he's like, for like feedback. I don't know what I was thinking.
Maybe 3 less vodka sodas.
Yeah,
lady.
maybe 3 less vodka sodas would be a good start.
I know. Oh my gosh. But I like dug up this old email, and he's like, you definitely got laughs. As for what they were laughing at, I cannot confirm. But anyway, so I go back a year later because I would not show up there again. And I'm like, surely they'll just forget about me in a year. Well, the bartender was like, I remember you. And I was like, oh, really? Prove it. And he was like, mixing my, Bobcat Goldthwait stuff together. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, he's like, I will never forget you. That was like unbelievable. Anyway, so I was like, yeah, just slurring. I don't know. I have no idea what happened. But my friends who were there said it was one of their, favorite things they've ever witnessed. So I'm glad someone got to partake in it. But so after that, I was like, I need to be present for this at some time in my life. I will do this. And then it just all kind of hit me when I was like, all right, my friend's giving me permission to do stand-up. I'm sober. This incredible woman teaches classes. Now's the time. Let's do this.
I love that. I think, your experience teaches us, and many of us go through this, of like a period of fear and then resilience, right? So like we're going through these scary moments in life and, decisions that we're making. And, we talk about the sandwich generation, like our parents are getting older. A lot of fear. There's a lot of uncertainty. And like what you did was take something that you can't really remember, but you were very memorable. That was your goal. So you accomplished that. But really like talk to us about how you built that inside and have that resilience to like show up and keep on doing this and pushing yourself. I think that's a good lesson for all of us.
Oh man, that's a really good question. I mean, I think, that's one of the biggest parts of the no longer drinking, right? There was a period when I stopped drinking for about 109 days or something back when I was writing my book, right? And during the time that I wasn't drinking, I was getting up earlier and I was more confident. Things felt more possible to come back to myself, right? I think one of the reasons I was drinking so much was to numb and to have something for me, like I would just start drinking while I was cooking because I'm like, okay, like this is my moment, this is my time. It's the end of the day. We're moving into the end of the day. Let's celebrate this. And then it would just carry on and on and on. In those first few months, it's so tough because everything comes to the surface and you have to feel and you can't run and you can't numb. But then for me, it took a while, the hill that you get over took about 6 months, but like getting there and finally getting to that point where it's like, it actually feels good to be in my body and to know who I am and to
not numb yourself out all the time.
Yeah. And that's my personal experience. I don't know what, I'm just speaking to me and many women that I've spoken to definitely relate to that. But I know that's not everyone's experience. And also, just life is so short too, it's like, seems like anytime something happens or there's some sort of wake up call, it's like, I've just lived in so much fear over the years and so much worry and so much worrying of what other people think of me. And have really, as I've gotten older, I think that's the gift of getting older too. I've just started to
filter becomes less.
Yeah.
Your shits, your fucks become less.
Yes.
Left to give.
Yeah. No fucks left to give. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Well, you bring up such an important thing of the power of women sharing stories, whether they're funny stories, embarrassing stories,
sad stories,
horrifying stories, sad stories, all of the things.
I mean, when Britt and I met, I was crying to her, right? So we just met. I was like bawling and like we became friends. So we were sharing stories and
it's so powerful though, which is ultimately why you went on to create Moms on the Mic, right? Because it is so important for moms to take up space in sharing of the stories. With the Moms on the Mic, you're encouraging women to take up this space in comedy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like the Indigo Girls said, right? You better laugh at yourself or you'd cry your eyes out if you didn't.
I was just singing Galileo in my head.
Yeah,
like,
Galileo.
Yes. Yes.
So many women who might have a desire to do this or might, feel empowered to do so or feel like they maybe have some stories to share that might spark laughter in some of their same community. What would you say to women who feel like they have something to share in any regard, whether it's in a comedy club or whether it's to their girlfriends or whatever? What's your advice to women who feel like they have something to share, but they're too scared to step up?
I would say a lot of things. First of all, I would say that someone needs to hear what you have to say, right? And I would also, it's funny because I think we have this idea that if we do get up and speak or do comedy or share something with a friend, it has to be, well, actually, friend to friend, that one's different, right? But if you do get up in front of people, or if you do write something or do some stand up, we have this idea that it needs to be perfect and that we have to have everything together. And at the end of the day, what really matters is the heart that's in it and the human element that's in it. And kind of like what I was saying with my flub, with the stand up, it's like that man told me that me messing up was the most relatable moment of the whole night. And I mean, at the first Moms on the Mic, the first woman to get up was an open micer, and she got up to the
open micers.
Yes. Yeah. She got up there and went like this and just started crying. And we all applauded her because we were all there with her. We could all feel that. I think we all relate to that. And so
people would do that in like school drop-off line.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Like, I think we're all like kind of craving that. I saw some post too. I don't know how true it is, but there's someone posted something about Peyton Manning he was the, some award winner or host of some fancy night. And this little boy was supposed to go out there and speak. And Peyton Manning found this little boy, crying, sitting down, just terrified, and got to talking to him. And he's like, he didn't feel like he was ready or whatever. And Peyton was like, hey, it's not the perfection of it, it's the heart of it, so you are he's like, you are the real star of this night, right? Because you are just being yourself and you're going to be real. And I don't know, every single time in my life personally that I have just spoken up and shared something, it has profoundly changed my relationships with people. I mean, it took me 20 years to finally tell my parents this year that about being raped in college. And like that whole experience this year, I was sitting with them and talking to them, like, was just so life-changing, and it just like brought us closer. And for the longest time, I thought that it would almost divide us, and there was so much shame and so much, but at the end of the day, it's like we all just want to be together. We all just want to be helping each other and just like be in it, Woo, that took a drastic turn.
I know. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
But what's crazy about that whole experience, though, is I don't think I would have the career path that I've had if it weren't for that experience. That's basically why I'm so dedicated to, encouraging people to share, which is just kind of funny that it took me so long to even share my thing, but because it's very needed.
Well, and I'm sure you sharing that experience, and thank you for sharing that with us and our audience, has allowed other people to feel that vulnerability and speak up and find the community.
Right.
Yeah. I think, what I love about you is you're authentic and real, and, you take this sense of humor and spirit into everything that, you're doing, and putting together these amazing communities yourself with Moms on the Mic. And you wrote a book on Mama Be Present, right? And, you and I have been kind of trying to connect on the DBP Society, right? So you're writing. I think it's so important, right? So for women going through anything, or men, I mean, everybody, right? So processing these emotions, how can writing or journaling or storytelling or ranting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really
Comedy.
Help process our feelings. I mean, we're talking here about perimenopause and menopause, but you just, dropped a big bomb on what happened to you in life. And a lot of us have these horror stories that we're holding in and need to get out somehow. So if it's like writing, if you are not a stage person and you don't want to get out and be vulnerable in front of somebody, be vulnerable in front of a piece of paper. So maybe share your thoughts around why it's so important to get things out.
Oh man, that's like a whole other topic, right?
Stay tuned for our next podcast.
We'll have you back.
Yeah, we'll have you back for sure.
Okay. Oh, I think something happens, right? When you do allow yourself to let words come out, whether it is, onto paper, or even in the notes app of your phone, or just vocalizing something. If it's just with yourself, it helps to see it in front of you, right? Like when I was going through the worst depression of my life during my infertility, I would angry journal, and that was like life saving to me, right? Like I let myself be angry with God, and I told, I just let it all out. And sometimes, when you then see something in front of you, you're able to do something with that, right? It becomes tangible. Sometimes sometimes it shows up and it's not as big as it felt once you see it. And other times it's things come out of you that you didn't know were there until you connected the pen to the paper or your fingers to the keys, right? In the DPB Society, which is so funny, I'm like, why the hell did I name it that? It's everyone messes it up. No one knows what it means, but it stands for, done is better than perfect. And that's the thing. I just kind of like started it and went with it because I just wanted these women I wanted to get women together to write, and women who've been telling me that they want to write, but they don't think they're good enough, or they want to write, but they want it to just be for themselves, but they don't know where to start, or they don't have the time. So like, okay, we're just going to do this. And the weekly prompts, the main goal with each of them is to just set a timer for 10 minutes and write. And every time that I do that myself, I'm always amazed because I will avoid it till the end of time, because still I am programmed to think that if I write, it needs to be big and great and perfect, and it needs to be a newsletter or something. But like the second that I actually let myself sit down and say, I'm just going to write and see where it goes, then you start writing for more than 10 minutes because you've started. And that's the other thing too. It's like the whole secret concept of the DPB Society is to not let perfection stop you from even starting. Right? Like it's not about just like throwing crap out there and just saying, okay, this is done. It's like just letting yourself start and then go from there. And it's been so crazy since January to see this group of women. There's now 18 of us in this group share things that, I mean, you wouldn't even imagine them sharing.
And so much healing, I'm sure, that happens as a result of it, right? I feel like journaling to a certain extent is sort of like a thing of the past. Well, not only therapy, but it's almost like a thing of the past, right? Like all of us as little girls, had our diaries and we would write in them, and we would share with our paper our most secret thoughts and our crushes and our boyfriends and things that we did that our parents would be disappointed in us. You don't see little girls these days or even teenagers doing that. So to be able to bring the power of journaling or just putting your pen to a piece of paper in those imperfect words, powerful thing that like needs to be brought back up again. Like things were so good in the 80s and 90s. Why aren't we doing?
Let's go back.
Why aren't we having more titles and diaries? And
I know. I wish I had my diaries. That'd be really fun to read. You're like, okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I still have mine, and I think I may have to burn them, but I don't know. We'll see.
Save them for your kids.
So thank you for encouraging all of us, women to get back to journaling, to get back to simplicity.
Right. Yeah. And that's the crazy thing too, right? If you make a habit of it, when you go back and read some of the things, it's like, I remember flipping through an old journal of mine and I just couldn't stop because all of these full circle things were happening. I mean, I don't remember details, but I just remember being like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I wrote this stuff down, because I was able to see how much I've grown, or I was able to see like that really hard time completely needed to happen for this thing to happen. Or, like it's really powerful. And like you said, it's healing. That is the biggest piece of it. And especially when you're able to hear what someone else is going through, whether they're reading something or you're reading what they wrote, like even if it's a completely different experience, there's still something where you can relate, right? To the emotion or to just their fear or their vulnerability. And it's been really neat to see that especially on Facebook, especially in these times, to see loving, kind things happening and women really like showing up for each other. So,
yeah. Well, I know you and I had been texting a little bit before our podcast, and, I kind of wanted to end things on some of the lovely newer things that are happening in your life, because again, we're all going through these changes of perimenopause and menopause and what's going on with our bodies. You mentioned obviously infertility, which I had no idea about. So I'm really sorry you went through that, but I know you've got lovely kiddos now. So I'm glad that worked out for you.
Yeah.
But recently, I think you're having some issues, right, with gut and hormones, and really trying to figure out the connection from that. And that's kind of where we're going in our business. But let's talk a little bit about what you've been diagnosed with and all these doozies that you're dealing with, from SIBO, which I've had, and malabsorption and testosterone. I know you're now taking it. So can you give us a little insight on what you're personally dealing with and how fun it is? Put a little comic spin on that, bitch.
Yeah. Give us your stand-up comedy around that, woman.
Boom.
Well, guess what? I just did a whole set on my stool sample and my parasite. So after the thing at Comedy Fempire, I thought no one's going to ask me to do another show. I was the only one to mess up. But sure enough, this guy asked me to be in a show in Niwot, and I read from my notes. By the way, I mean, it was in a small bookstore. It was very casual. It's not like I would go do that at Comedy Works or something. But like, it was so cool that, because I tried to cancel, and he was like, "No, just I just want to remind you, this is low pressure, low stakes." And
good for him. Way to push you.
So what was it? Like, you were talking about your shit in the box experience, and I just did that.
You just did that? Did you have to do the test tubes?
Yeah, you'd stir it up like a cocktail. Yeah, just stirring your poop around in like some hydrogen peroxide or whatever they give you. I mean, it's like a real thing.
You have to bring it to FedEx?
Yeah. It's like
here's my poop.
It's a whole thing. But again, like, knowledge is power, right? And we're at a very cool time in our lives where innovation and testing and having access to these types of things, because I think most importantly, we as women know something's off. We have to lean into our intuition. There's no more powerful thing than a woman's intuition. And when you feel like something is off, maybe it's just simply ordering the shit in the box to validate that, to actually do something and to be heard by a clinician or do something like that. So share with us, one, your little comedy bits around the shitting in the box, because I have my own comedic experience. And two, like, what you found. And you need that validation, how we as women need that validation to actually present some tangible evidence to these physicians who won't listen to us that something is fucking wrong.
I know. Okay, so yeah, you're bringing me back to what I was gonna share before I totally went off. So I went to my regular doctor, right, my gynecologist that I'd been seeing for, I don't know, 3 years or something. I was just telling her all the things that have been going on, and she's like, "So what do you mean you want to get your hormones tested?" That was actually a question. And then she even said, and then I'm like crying at one point. I'm like, I just feel like maybe I have ovarian cancer and I don't know. And maybe, from her perspective, I can be very neurotic, and I can be very worst case scenario. Ask anyone in my family, ask any of my friends. But she's like, well, all of this stuff is normal. Women, this is all normal women's health stuff, normal getting older stuff.
Here's some antidepressants.
Yeah, here's an antidepressant.
Exactly. She said, we need to talk about your anxiety. I'm like, what about my anxiety? I'm like, I'm on the highest dose of my venlafaxine. I've got it pretty
like, I just squeezed a tear out of my Lexapro.
I know. I've got one. Bitch, it came down. It's real.
So I was like, I'm done because something is up. And so anyway, this is the value of talking out loud and sharing things. Because I was telling my one friend about all my issues, and because her friend told her about all of her issues, she was able to say, oh, wait a minute, you should go see this doctor that my friend is seeing that is helping her. And so Dr. Peterson with Vera Fertility is in Westminster. I'm in Lakewood, so I ain't driving to Westminster, which is awesome because they do a bunch of virtual calls. But I met with her, and in the first thing, we spoke for an hour, and a lot of it was about my gut health and how, I needed to get a ton of blood work and, change a lot of things in my diet that I thought were healthy. Like I thought my Vega protein that I was having every day with my smoothies, was good, but I guess it's not. It's got a lot of additives. And then I had, coincidentally, like a week later, really, really bad abdominal pain throughout the night that went throughout for 3 days straight. She's like, you got to do a stool sample and, all these things. So basically, we find out that, I've got a parasite. So my stand-up was about that because they told me that I would see it coming out
in your poo.
There's all kinds of them. And they told me that this medicine they put me on for 3 days would just make me feel horrible. And so I cleared my schedule. Nothing happened. Then I found out that the kind that I had was microscopic, or at least that's what Google told me. So I didn't see anything. But I go off on my whole thing about how thinking that this thing, because I thought maybe I got it in Korea or Mexico. And if it was Korea, that means this thing had been growing in me for well over a year. So then I talk about how big is it? Does it have 8 legs?
Does it have a Korean accent?
Does it not understand me? Is that why it hasn't come out yet?
Yeah, and I talk about how this is the closest thing I'll ever be to being pregnant and how I was eating for 2 and thinking of how to do a gender reveal. Because my doctor was also like, you need to get
Korean parasite
legs.
Yes. But she's like, you need to take prenatal vitamins because, this thing's been sucking your nutrients. So I'm like, I'm pregnant.
So that prompted you to poop in the box and have to send that out.
Yeah. But wait a second. Do I still have, wait a minute. Hang on. It's right. It might be just right here. Is it just here? Yes. I've been preserving my poop in the pantry.
I mean, truly though, the things that they're doing, we have a partner that we promote called Element Longevity, and they do a full-blown analysis of your gut biome, because what's happening is so many of us are taking pre and probiotics that aren't fitting to what particular biome or what we have. Yeah. And so they are essentially send you a poop in the box, you poop in the box, and then they analyze your poop, and then they break down each of your gut biomes and customize a pre or probiotic for you that's specific to what you need in that certain biome section. So I do think there's a lot of validity to it. And, it's something that more of us just need to talk about. So you're not feeling so weird sitting in your bathroom, making a poop cocktail.
I know. No, you're so right. And I'm so glad that you've been through this because it's so fascinating. I found out, I have way too much of the lactobacillus, whatever.
Yeah. And then you take a probiotic that's specific to that, right? Your deficiencies or, whatever you might have too much of. Yeah. So that's so cool. Thank you for sharing your experience. I do want to
now your poop box.
It's like what you get a hot dog in and a swim meet.
Exactly. So this, I don't know, was this the dish that they gave you?
No. Ours was nicer. I felt like I was
we got the higher echelon.
I was Ritz-Carlton pooping in a box, not the fucking Hampton Inn.
Yeah, that's the In-N-Out burger. Poop in a box.
We got to level you up, lady.
I know. I'm glad that you got.
Let's give you a nice poop in the box for your straight teeth.
But no, this is what prompted the whole thing. I was like, this is comedy because who can poop in this? My poop. No, I pooped in a Tupperware, a big Tupperware,
So they made you poop in that hot dog looking
flimsy
swim team, concession stand thing?
Yeah, that was the thing. But yeah, definitely I was like, I'm saving this because anyway. So yeah, and then they found, that my testosterone was less than 3. So it was so low that it couldn't even be detected. And then, yes, I had SIBO and that I'm pre-diabetic and all these things where I'm like, no wonder I've been so fucking tired. And finally someone can tell me what has been going on and actually affirm this, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're just a mom, you're tired, or
antidepressants. Yeah, I was going to take a walk, start exercising.
That antidepressant sure would have helped with all of those things.
Well, and it's so crazy, Britt, and thank you for bringing this up because this is exactly why Courtney and I are doing what we're doing. So we are just launching. We're so excited that we are launching a at-home hormonal health blood testing kit.
Amazing.
Because there's so many people that, one, you don't want to fight the lines at the labs. You don't want to sit next to, the 500 old people and wait for 3 hours to get your blood tested. 3, it's expensive. But what we're doing is we have partnered with some really fantastic labs across the United States that will send this lab test to your home. You can actually take your blood sample right there, ship it back in the mail to whomever we're sending it to, our labs that are sending it to, and then it interprets all of what's going on. So we as women can have that validation that yes, something is off and here you go. And then you can take the data that you're getting from the blood test to your physician, to your functional health doctor, and make the changes. And then of course, there's an AI component to it that interprets your actual data from the test, right? Because you said that you're 3 on your testosterone. Well, in a lot of cases, some of these blood tests are considering that normal, within range. Well, guess what? What if we don't want to be within range of our testosterone? Maybe we want to be optimal of our testosterone. This gives us, knowledge is power. This gives us the validation that something is off and perhaps a tangible result where our physicians, our functional medicine doctors will listen to us by just doing something like this.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. How do you take the blood though? How do you do that?
Easy peasy. It's like the Staples button. Easy.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks like the Staples button.
And it literally goes on your arm and you just click it and then you don't even feel anything. I had to keep on clicking it, but then it drops some blood into like a little tiny tube and then you unscrew it and send it in. It's so easy.
And where do you do it? Because I did that for my glucose monitor right here.
Wherever. I mean,
right here.
You just beat yourself up.
Beat her up for a little bit. Then you put the easy monitor on there. And then it literally takes probably 3 to 5 minutes to fill up this vial of blood.
I bled faster than Dawn. So mine was 3.
Send it back in. It's because you're a fucking vampire.
It's because I'm a vampire.
So we're so proud and we're so happy because there's so many women like you, like both Courtney and I, that have been dismissed. Like too many people, and something in our intuition, something in this crazy gut feeling of ours,
it's not a parasite,
knows something is off. So you know what? Let's do something about it and let's make it easy, because we as women don't have time to go to 5 doctors, be dismissed, go sit in 3 different labs, wait for 2 weeks and get some mediocre bullshit results that are going to tell you you're within range. No.
Yeah.
We're not accepting that anymore.
No more. We're changing the narrative.
I love it. That is so awesome. And I just want to say too, so when I first, with that other doctor, we did do blood work a few years ago. My testosterone was low. She told me I needed to get on pellets, but I was hesitant about that because, for a number of reasons, going back to the fertility stuff and everything. And I just, in my gut, I thought there's got to be another way at this point. And I actually was able to raise my testosterone with diet and exercise and, incorporating more weights. And then that was also when at that point, I wasn't drinking a lot either. So that really helped. Anyway, but then this time I was just so low that they said that if I wanted to do it naturally, it would take a while. And I'm like, something's got to give, because I was on the verge of passing out by just picking weeds and feeling like life was not possible. I was about to pause Moms on the Mic. I was about to just pause everything. It really affects so much. But what I'm getting at here is I didn't know that you could take super low dose testosterone. I'm taking 1 milligram a day through.
Are you taking it orally? Capsule or cream or?
It's a little waxy square. Yeah. Yeah. That tastes like vanilla, and I just shove it up there and then it just dissolves.
And you're noticing a big difference
already. And it's been a month. Within the first hour, I noticed a difference, and it may have been a placebo.
Now Britt's humping her closet. Yeah. She's got her poop sample in because she's like, oh, look at my sex drive.
Now you're having sex with your husband. You're like, turn UFC off.
Captain
Vagina warriors. Captain
Coming to bed. All right. Well, we got to wrap this up. I think we have had so much fun with you.
You too.
You are such a breath of fresh air with such a beautiful smile and bringing a sense of humor to it all.
Yeah, let's tell people how they can find you, your writing workshops, your book, your Moms on the Mic, because I think what you're doing is incredible. So give everybody a little taste of how to find you.
Yeah, so you can find me at britstueven.com, Stueven. I'm also on Instagram. There's all kinds of links. I don't know if you'll do like show notes.
We'll add some links, in our podcast.
Yeah. And also Moms on the Mic is basically already sold out.
Well, we want to maybe sponsor.
Yeah, what about us?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. So we have reserved seats for sponsors. But also because it's basically full, there's a few things, right, that have to line up before I announce it. But I'm also working on a full open mic night sometime in maybe early November at a coffee shop. And then a big old event in January at the Lakewood Cultural Center with like 300 seats, basically. Wow. So stay tuned.
Okay. Well, I might have to have some vodka for that one, but we'll be there. Thank you. As Dawn said, Britt, thank you so much. You're such a breath of fresh air. Light of fresh air. We're just going to blend it all together and say you're amazing and a gift. And I'm so glad that we cried on each other's shoulders at the first time we met, and that you're doing amazing things. And thank you so much for sharing your stories. I know how hard it is to talk about some things, and I know our listeners appreciate it. Listeners, please, subscribe to us, leave a review, share this episode with anybody you think needs a good laugh today, or somebody to help inspire you to share your stories. And until next time, everybody, keep those hot flashes in check and stay sassy and classy and fabulous.
Yeah, embrace your inner UFC Captain Vagina.
And, be sure to check out our website for our new Hot Flash Health at Home testing, hormone testing. And that's a wrap on today's episode. Remember, menopause may be a wild ride, but together we've got this.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Hot Flash Health.
Stream and subscribe to us on any of your favorite listening platforms like YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
And of course, share your thoughts with us. We love hearing from our amazing listeners.
And until next time, stay sassy, stay fabulous, and keep those hot flashes in check.
Yeah, girl.
Woo!